Hello everyone, I am Dr. Eric Morrison. This is 7 Under 3, and I'll be covering trading education, more specifically FOREX trading, using the TC2000 and TradingView platforms. Hello, this is the FOREX Week in Review with the 28 majors and minors and the Mexican peso and South African rand added. Now we went ahead and added those two currencies for the Commitment of Traders report, and it gives us some good insights into trading those particular currency pairs. I'm starting off with the Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar. As you can see on the weekly, it's below the dragon. We are crowded out a little bit on the short side, and it is below the dragon also on the daily. Alright, so good trades to the short side. We did have 3 consecutive weeks of down weeks, and we're looking for more potential to the downside for next week. Aussie dollar, Swiss franc, same thing on the weekly, below the dragon. Starting to get crowded out on the short side. Also on the daily, also below the dragon too as well. Still has some room before it hits its Z3 excursion. Aussie dollar, Japanese yen on the weekly is below the dragon. We had a good FTM signal from last week to this week. However, commitment traders are kind of skewed and weighted towards the commercials. We also are below the dragon on the daily too as well to end up the week. Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, below the dragon on the weekly, also crowded out on the short side. Lines up well with below the dragon on the daily too as well for continued price action to the downside. Aussie dollar, US dollar, also below the dragon, crowded out on the short side. Daily also in alignment to the short side, but it is currently at that Z3 excursion level. Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, below the dragon. As you can see, heading right back down to Z3 excursion, currently below the dragon on the daily as well. This is, however, crowded out on the long side, so these institutional retail traders are getting squeezed pretty heavily. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, we just hit below the dragon on the weekly, crowded out extremely on the long side, so any price action to the downside as it's below the daily on the commitment of traders. We're at 70% and 58% crowded out long. So the retail and institutional traders are getting squeezed right now. Continued price action all the way down to the Z3 excursion at 102.985. Swiss franc, Japanese yen, still above the dragon on the weekly, crowded out to the extreme side on the long on the commitment of traders, and below the dragon on the daily, just a little bit below the belly. This reversal with strong upside potential is now starting to weaken again. We could see some more strength in the dollar next week, which could send this, and the Japanese yen, that could send this down to the overall lows. Swiss franc, South African rand, crowded out on the long side, currently above the dragon, was below the dragon, then snapped back up here with a significant price moves to the upside. Following the money, nice price action to the upside the last day, hitting the retracement on the RL270. Euro, Aussie dollar, all price action above the dragon on the weekly, crowd out significantly long on the commitment of traders, looking for that overall weakness, however above the dragon also on the daily. Euro, Canadian dollar, also above the dragon, both on the weekly and the daily, had significant crowding out on the commitment of traders to the long side. So let's see if this continued price action to the upside. Euro, Swiss franc, price action below the dragon on the weekly, above the dragon on the daily. Significant price action and crowding out on the long side for the commitment of traders report. Look for continued price action to the downside. Euro, British pound, kind of all over the map within the consolidation zone between the 200 and the RL270 on the weekly. Above the dragon on both the weekly and the daily, and commitment of traders is starting to crowd out on the long side. Euro, Japanese yen, price action above the dragon on the weekly and in the dragon on the daily. Significant price action crowding out on the long side on the commitment of traders. So we could see a precipitous fall here and a squeeze of the institutional retail traders on the Euro, Japanese yen. Euro, New Zealand, price action both on the weekly and the daily on the above the dragon. Strong upward support. However, the commitment of traders is crowded out on the long side, so we could see a squeeze here next week, especially since it is in this consolidation zone on the weekly at the upper tier of that consolidation zone. Euro, USD, we have price action above the dragon on the weekly, below the dragon on the daily, crowd out significantly on the long side on the commitment of traders report for Euro USD. Euro South African Rand was below the dragon on the weekly and then piped back up within the dragon. Same on the daily, crowd out significantly on the long side on the commitment of traders report. British pound, Aussie dollar, price action above the dragon on the weekly and the daily, and some crowding out on the long side for the British pound, Aussie dollar. British pound, Canadian dollar, we have price action above the dragon both on the weekly and the daily, and some significant crowding out on the long side for British Canadian dollar. British pound, Swiss franc, we have price action below the dragon on the weekly and the daily, and we have crowding out on the long side. So there is a significant squeeze going on for the past 4 weeks to the downside. We'll see if it continues. British pound, Japanese yen, on the weekly is inside the dragon, the daily is below the dragon, and we have significant crowding out on the long side for the British pound, Japanese yen. British pound, New Zealand dollar, above the dragon on the weekly and the daily. Significant consolidation happening here between this C-zone of the Z3 excursion, Z3, and the consolidation zone. A lot of price action. It might be best just to avoid this until this breaks out. Commitment of traders is crowded out on the long side. Percentage might be best to just avoid this currency pair for next week until the breakout. British pound, US dollar, significant price action to the downside from its initial week. We have crowding out on the long side, so these institutional retail traders are getting squeezed pretty significantly with price action on the daily to the below the dragon. British pound, South African Rand, price action back into the dragon from below on the weekly. Significant crowding out on the long side and price action on the daily above the dragon. New Zealand Canadian dollar, price action below the dragon on the weekly and the daily, right at the belly. We are crowded out on the short side on the commitment of traders report, so any price action to the upside will squeeze these traders out of their positions. New Zealand Swiss franc, we have price action below the dragon on the weekly and the daily, and no significant direction on the commitment of traders. New Zealand Japanese yen, weekly we have below the dragon, daily we have below the dragon, and significant crowding out on the long side. So these institutional retail traders are getting squeezed pretty heavily. New Zealand US, we have price action on the weekly and the daily below the dragon, and we have a commitment of traders on the short side for long positions. So look, as these positions go more and more short, we could see a significant rebound or retracement to the upside. US Canadian dollar on the weekly and on the daily, both above the dragon. We are crowded out on the short side, so these institutional retail traders are getting squeezed pretty heavily. Nice price action to the upside. US dollar, Swiss franc, no significant crowding out on the commitment of traders report, but below the dragon on the weekly and above the dragon on the weekly, but still red in terms of overall weakness. US dollar, Japanese yen in the dragon at this point. Interesting overall report coming out of the Bank of Japan, but dealing with their inflation. We'll see if they hold to their guns in terms of keeping interest rates low and repatriating the yen and selling dollars. That will definitely affect the overall dollar demand if they start addressing their inflation. Since the Bank of Japan and Japan itself is the number one holder of U.S. debt. Significant crowding out to the long side, showing up to be a significant formation here in this consolidation zone. We'll see if they continue price action to the downside. Currently within the dragon, both on the weekly and the daily. U.S. Mexican peso, we had an initial surge this week to the upside. Nice FTM. We might have some more continued price action to the upside as it is crowded out to the short side. All of these institutional retail traders getting squeezed, and as you can see here, this thing shot up like a rocket all the way up to the Z3 and Z3 excursion here before retracing. We'll see if this has continued legs to the upside. And that would happen if the dollar strengthens and goes up. That would mean that the markets would go down. US dollar, South African Rand, same thing. Initial surge to the upside. Incredible bounce off the RL270 here. Crowded out on the long side. Here on the commitment of traders and on the daily. Incredible surge to the upside, as you can see, for these 4 days. South African Rand, Japanese yen on the weekly hit its Z3 excursion here. Previous week was crowded out on the long side, which means these traders are on the side that the market would go up for this currency pair. But as you can see here, it hit that overall resistance there and started to squeeze the institutional retail traders here for these 2 days, and then these days all 4 days to the downside. Looking at the overall dollar, we do have some more price action after it hit that initial technical area of liquidity. We have this incredible retracement here, overall V formation. We'll see if it has some more price action to the upside on the dollar. Well, folks, that's all I have for the Forex Week in Review for the 4th of August of 2023. If you're interested in these kind of strategies in trading Forex or programming in both PineScript or Python for auto trading, click on the links below. And remember, ruthless risk management. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you on Sunday.
Well, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like rumble button below and the subscribe button. And if you want more information, go ahead and click the course information links below. On the TradingView link and on TC2000, I have an affiliate link. If you open up a TC2000 account, you will receive a $25 discount using that link. Thank you for your time.